aggressive anymore. What is going to change? So I really do. I feel like they have stripped hope from the fan base. I think it's gone. I think there's no hope.
Well, it's a Joe show. We've seen it. Nobody wants to be there. It's a big bad show tonight. Just take this damn parade. Who cares? Yeah, Joe show. There's a 2-mile wait to get past the damn green line.
Anyone who gets scared by a bear in the neighborhood, call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was
to watch these days. I watch them, I boo them, but they're tough to watch. And the Red Sox are going to lead me into my opening take. We'll get to what's coming up for the next few hours here on the Nighttime Show. My name is James Stewart. Jimmy Stewart will be doing your updates. You know, the bipolar thing, no, didn't work either. That's 0 for 1 on Jokes, guys. The opening take is presented by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for residential, commercial, and commercial plumbing. Already screwed that up. Heating, cooling. I'm going to give them a clean new read. Skaz, this is already in the bleeper already. The opening take is presented by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for residential and commercial plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. Day or night, and always done right. Visit superservicetoday.com. Hopefully I made up for that. My opening take is the Red Sox are hopeless, but I have a solution as to how to fix them. Move Sam Kennedy out. Sam Kennedy runs the Red Sox. Move him out of there. It can't be stressed enough how Sam Kennedy is the business person. He's not a baseball person. He's a business person. So his winning is the fact that the Red Sox are 28th in payroll spending amongst what their profits are. And that's where it kind of starts. And it goes to the Rafael Devers thing. And it also goes to Terry Francona's in town with the Cincinnati Reds. Terry Francona, of course, the greatest manager in Red Sox history. But I want to get in this Red Sox take before Garrett Crochet gives up a hit, because we know his first pitch is going to be a fastball. And the league is 6 for 17 off his fastball with 2 home runs. So I expect the Reds' leadoff hitter to hit a home run. But the Red Sox right now, they are 41-44. And the Red Sox, they need alignment. And Maz has talked a lot about the Red Sox most important relationship. And the most important relationship really in baseball is between the field manager and the general manager. And maybe you're in lockstep with Sam, but Breslow and Cora, they're just not in sync. And Theo and Francona, they were in sync. They were in sync for a lot of years. But they need to get back in sync. And they need to make baseball better. Cora and Breslow need to get on the same page to make baseball better in Boston, and with Sam Kennedy being more about the baseball than the business. And here's where it goes with the business side of it. Rafael Devers should still be a member of the Boston Red Sox. But when Giants ownership is on the record as saying the Devers contract and the Giants availability to take that contract is the reason why Rafael Devers is no longer a Boston Red Sox, that's a problem. This is Greg Johnson, who's part of the Giants ownership group, talking about why the Giants took the Rafael Devers contract. And it can't be stated enough how important a piece of audio this is, because it feels like we're the only ones here on the Sports Hub who are actually promoting the fact that the Giants owner is on the record saying that they took the contract. Skaz, take it away. Greg Johnson, Giants ownership.
If you guys had not been willing to take on the entire thing, do you think you're introducing Rafael Devers today?
No.
So pretty important then. Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, you think about we had to give up some players on top of that too. So, I think we felt like it was a better value than what we're paying him.
And to Craig Breslow's credit, he wanted better players, and ownership jumped in and said, no, get the deal done because we want to be rid of this contract. And that's a problem. That's a major problem, is when you're making baseball trades for money reasons and not baseball reasons. They should have gotten the Giants' top prospect for it. Credit to Dave O'Brien. Dave O'Brien, who I've been really harsh on this year, and justifiably so. I felt during yesterday's broadcast, during the bottom of the second inning, when Craig Breslow was in the booth, I feel like he vented his frustrations about the team when he's asking Craig Breslow point blank about why the Devers trade was made.
The timing of the trade, I think, when fans react, that's why they get angry. That's why they get bitter. The Red Sox had won 5 in a row, as you know, had swept the Yankees. There was a great feeling in the ballpark of hope and, you know, some euphoria there. And then bang, the best hitter is gone in the lineup. So I want to ask you about how much consideration went into the timing of that deal and why.
Yeah, a lot of consideration. And
did it come down to the Giants are willing to take the deal? They're taking the entire contracts, $254 million left. And they're saying right now, either take it or it's going to disappear.
There's so much that goes into a trade, especially like this, and it's always really hard to know how much is negotiating and posturing and how much is reality.
So the reality is, and you heard Craig Breslow stumble through that, the reality is the owner wanted the contract gone. Devers was enough of a problem where they had to get rid of him. Devers should be on this baseball team. And it's frustrating that he's not, because now it's the kids, but it should be the kids and Devers. And they're not there because it's a business thing. But it starts with your leadership. Your leadership is about business, not about baseball. And so you need to clear them all out. Bump Sam up to more responsibility with Fenway Sports Group. Blow out Craig Breslow. Blow out Alex Cora. Find somebody who's going to have synergy like Terry Francona and Theo Epstein had. Find somebody who's going to have synergy like, to a degree, John Farrell and Ben Cherington had. And look, it wasn't good with Theo and Francona at the end, but for a good amount of years, they made it work. Now, do I have a name for you that I would suggest? I don't, which sucks, because I'd rather have a name and be right about that in 3 years, or at the end of the season, but I don't have that name. But I will tell you this. I will tell you who I don't want involved in this process. It's Theo Epstein. I don't want Theo Epstein part of this process. And you'll be like, oh, but Theo built those championship teams. He did. He also had Larry Lucchino. He had Terry Francona. There was synergy there. To my best knowledge, Theo Epstein suggested Chaim Bloom to be the Red Sox GM. That was a fail. Or maybe it won't be. Maybe we'll see with these kids. But maybe in 2 years we'll be like, oh, Bloom was pretty good, but he didn't win at the major league level. Craig Breslow was also a suggestion of Theo Epstein. And up until the Devers trade, which was more ownership, that was a problem. That was a big-time problem. Delay, pitch. Oh, he actually took the fastball. I know I can't do play-by-play, but I was expecting that outrageous moment, Skaz, that first pitch fastball from Garrett Crochet was going to be hit out of the ballpark, and it wasn't. Instead, it's a curveball, but we can't do play-by-play of that. But while I'm wrapping up my Red Sox point here, the Red Sox need to be on the same page. They need to make it work, and then you'll get a baseball team that can be watchable, can be enjoyable, and we're not gossiping about everything that's wrong with the baseball team because the manager's talking to everybody off the record. Breslow's doing a media tour, talking to Jared Carabas for an hour on the field in plain sight, doing interviews everywhere. It's a bad situation over at Fenway Park. So hopefully they can resolve it because I love baseball and I want to be a fan of baseball and the on-field product. I'll take the drama for the talk show, but I'd rather be a fan of, oh, look, they're in first place. They're looking to add at the deadline. That's the other thing. You think they're going to add at the deadline? I don't. So that is that's where we've started. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of news going on. NBA free agency has started as of 6 o'clock Eastern time. NHL free agency has the rumors and the signings have leaked out. They officially start tomorrow at noontime. We've got a packed show for you tonight. Skaz is here, so Green Teamers unite. Skaz and I do the Green Teamers podcast during the regular season for the Celtics. So Skaz is here. He's going to help me out as best he can because I need all the help I can get. Coley Mick from Section 10 and the Roland Jays podcast will be with us at 8 o'clock. He's going to spend a couple of segments with us and talk hoops. Lauren Campbell from Mass Live is going to be in here at 9 o'clock, and she is going to be talking Bruins. She is going to be talking Red Sox reaction. And we'll mix in a few other things. We'll do In and Out. If there's a chance, I'll do a Night of Champions WWE recap. We'll talk about LeBron James, and maybe he's being dealt somewhere. Skaz, I have an over-under hope of 2.5 times of hitting the breaking news sounder. What do you think my chances are?
We almost got it in the first segment there. Almost got it.
Almost got it there.
Close. Very close. I think you got a good shot tonight.
I hope so, because nothing gives me the tingles more than the breaking news sounder. So we're going to do all of that. I did have another thought about Breslow and the minor league defense and him blaming everybody else, but we're going to blow past that because the Red Sox game has started. So let's get to you guys. If you've got thoughts on the NBA, where the Celtics are going, I have some thoughts on that. Duos in the NBA, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about coaching in the NBA and the importance of it. So if you have a question, you have a comment, you want to yell at me, like you want to rage against Stu, like we can do that tonight too. 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube. Please, for the love of God, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can make some more money. And yeah, I think that's the format for the night. So on the other side, we'll talk to you at 617-779-0985. We'll talk some Celtics. We'll talk some NBA. We'll talk some NHL. And we'll roll along as the nighttime show continues.
More Joe Murray. a big trade, please. And when I say big trade, I do not mean Sam Hauser. I mean a big trade, like like a core trade of either Jaylen Brown or Derek White.
Yeah, Trent, I'll just keep saying it. I think it's unlikely. The team would have to come in and overwhelm the Celtics with a bid for Jaylen Brown or Derek White. And I just don't think a team is going to reach the level that would make Brad Stevens seriously consider it. I think they want to kind of tread a little bit of two tracks here, right? Like you're starting to get below the apron. You understand the financial hurdles you have to navigate, but the new owner coming in, Bill Chisholm, isn't going to want to watch a product that is just kind of going through the motions. I think they want to remain competitive, and they're bullish that they can be that way with Jaylen, with Derek, with the core that he laid out last night. And, I know you say that Sam Hauser isn't a big piece, but, it is one of your most valuable trade assets outside of your core guys. And you need to maximize that return. You need to maximize the space you create to have an opportunity to go get players like Luke Cornett and now Horford back in the fold. And so there is still dominoes to fall here, but I just don't think it's going to be the big swing. I think it's going to be, they have trust in these guys, and they're going to figure out a pathway to make sure that this little core has enough.
I felt like last year, Peyton Pritchard was being groomed to be the starting point guard of the Celtics for this year. The Twitterverse seems to think that Al Horford is going to the Warriors and Luke Cornett is going to the Spurs. I'm fine with that. I don't want to lose Al Horford. I'm fine with losing Luke Cornett. No problem at all. Horford's a big one, and I tend to think that Horford initially left the Celtics for Philadelphia. That didn't work out. He got moved a bunch of different places. I think Horford's last contract, Jason Tatum kind of talked him out of going to the Warriors. I think if Jason Tatum were playing this season, Al Horford would be back with the Celtics. I truly believe that. And I think good for Al Horford. If he can get on with the Warriors, if he can go to Golden State and win another title, I'm happy for him. Al Horford seems to fit well with the Warriors because he moves, he sets great illegal screens, he does all the little things for other teams. But it goes to, if your core four for the Celtics are Tatum, Brown, White, and Pritchard, I don't think Anthony Simons is going to be here. I don't think Sam Hauser is going to be here. I think those are the only two, they're trade candidates. They are, I don't see how in Simons, Skaz, how do I pronounce this guy's name again?
Simons. Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons. I'm doing that kind of aggressively because he was described to me as atrocious defensively. And defense is mostly effort and understanding what offense is coming. And I won't do the whole Greg Bedard breakdown on the basketball court of defensive reads and positioning. But if somebody describes somebody to me as horrendous on the basketball court, I don't want him on my team. And it's great that, he's instant offense. I'm not paying $27 million for a sixth man, for a seventh man. Peyton Pritchard at under 10, perfect sixth man of the year. Unless you're overly loaded. When there was one year where the Celtics had 9 potential starters, or you had Brogdon, you had the flexibility, you could carry it. You can't carry it, especially if the second apron is a real thing. I don't think it is, but I'm happy to be corrected by people who are on the Celtics honkometer, like people I used to work with on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. And yes, that is a passive-aggressive comment. There'll be more of those to come, don't worry. But I think to the Tatum, Brown, White, Pritchard core, going forward, this team does need to adjust slightly. And now I'm a proponent of open shots. I don't care if they're 30 feet away. As long as you make your open shots, you're good with me. But this whole thing about cutting to the basket, what cutting is code for is the Celtics need to move more without the basketball. It's what the Warriors do well. It's what the Cavaliers were doing well this year. It's what the Pacers and OKC and a bunch of these teams do really well. And I think when Brad Stevens talks about play style, he talks about the three-point shot. He talks about being stagnant against the Knicks. He wants the team to move more. And furthermore to that, they're an older team. So if they had come out and said, we're moving on from Porzingis and we're moving on from Holiday because their expectations for next season are going to be way down for what we're paying them. I could live with that. But it's this second apron, and it's the tax and all this stuff. And how do I know it's a tax problem? It's a money issue. When the Celtics got Drew Holiday, they were gushing over it. He was Kevin Garnett. That's what the promotional videos were. Brad was gushing at the press conference, being like, we got Drew Holiday. And he was a great Celtic. He should still be a Celtic. But the stupid tax thing, they should abolish all taxes. How about that? How about that? We abolish all taxes in pro sports. How about we do that? And then we can actually talk less about the business of sports and more about the actual, on-court sports and putting together great lineups. Instead, we have to trade away good players. But again, if you're telling me that Holiday and Porzingis were dealt because they were on the decline, okay, I can live with that. But they were dealt for money reasons, and that's a problem. It's a big problem. It's a big problem for the Celtics. It's a big problem for the NBA. And it also leads me to another business question. Why are all these teams selling? Why are there so many teams that are going up for sale the last few years? And marquee franchises, too. Celtics won a championship, and they sell, and it's a problem.
This is breaking sports news.
That's one.
An instant oil change on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Jay Stu, would you like me to break some news to you?
I have it in front of me, but by all means.
Jay Stu, the Celtics Nation free agent center Luke Cornett has agreed to a 4-year, $41 million deal with the San Antonio Spurs from Shan Charania. Sources tell ESPN. So Luke Cornett is gone.
4 years, $41 million. It's not a bad contract. I would not pay it, but that's about what the market is for him. I think time will tell that this Luke Cornett contract is going to be like the Evan Turner Portland Trailblazers contract. And now that one was 4 years and $17 million, so not as bad, but Luke Cornett, good role player, shouldn't be playing more than 10, 15 minutes a night. Good for him for cashing in. Thank you for the championship, Luke Cornett. When do we get the Al Horford news, do you think? When do you think that's coming? Do you think that's coming sooner or later, or they're going to make us wait for it?
There is some reports.
I am accepting of a brown check mark.
A brown check mark is saying the Warriors are locked in on getting to an agreement with Al Horford after losing out on Kevin Looney. So no official report yet, but it seems like their attention has strongly shifted to Horford after Kevin Looney is on his way to New Orleans, I believe.
That would make sense. Luke Cornett, good Celtic, good role player. Not losing sleep over it. Yeah, it just, Skaz, it sucks. It really sucks as a Celtics fan, because that's what I am. I'm a fan first and foremost. I just happen to have media access, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But you want to build good teams. You don't have to peel off pieces. You don't want to have to peel off Rafael Devers or Porzingis or Holiday for money reasons and not talent reasons. But if those players were in decline, I'd be all into it. But the Celtics, I hate using the Bill Simmons term of the funeral of the Celtics, because I think my hope is that Brad has a trade up his sleeve. And maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But remember, Holiday was right before training camp. Porzingis was draft night. Those were the two big trades at the time. So maybe there's a trade coming. Maybe there's something going. Just bring me good players. Don't bring me a player who I'm told is horrific on defense. Unless he's going to be your 7th or 8th guy. Then I can live with it. That's frustrating. That's frustrating that I have to talk more about the business of sports. But makes for, you know what? If we were playing NBA 2K, maybe I'd feel differently. All right, Skaz. So do I have any, does Jimmy Stewart, because James Stewart is hosting, does Jimmy Stewart have any time restraints on updates, or can I do this as quickly as possible?
As long as you get the sponsor read in, it does not, you're good to go.
All right. I'm
Just
ready.
pay the bills.
All right. James Stewart here hosting. Coley Mick's going to join us at 8 o'clock. Lauren Campbell is going to join us at 9. And Jimmy Stewart is going to give you the headlines here.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox currently leading the Cincinnati Reds. That looks like it's 5-0. 5-0 bottom of the first inning. We'll keep you updated. It looks like there was a home run in there. I did not see who hit it because I was complaining about the Celtics. Other things around the world of sports, NBA news, NHL news. This is a disaster. They're never going to let me do this again, Skaz. NHL news, Elliot Friedman reporting that Brad Marchand is going to get 6 years, $32 million in total value. Mitch Marner goes from Toronto to Vegas, and he gets a new contract of 8 years at $12 million per season. Pierre LeBrun reporting that Panthers defenseman Aaron Ekblad gets 8 years times $6.1 million. That's below market value. Per Shams, the Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson. And Lou Cornett has agreed to a 4-year, $41 million deal with the San Antonio Spurs. Sports Hub headlines are presented by Celsius Energy Drinks. Refresh your energy with zero sugar, essential vitamins, and proven ingredients. I'm James Stewart. Your next headline comes at about 8 o'clock.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
with left, his time in the NBA is nearing its end. And obviously, as Rich Paul made clear in his comments to me yesterday, they are prioritizing trying to compete in a quote-unquote realistic way to win a championship. And behind the curtains of all that, what you can see is LeBron James, where he's at in his career. He's got 1, maybe 2 years left in his career. He wants to end his career on his terms.
And he criticized the roster. That's right on brand with LeBron James. I have had this theory for a long time. I have 2 questions here. And phone lines are open. 617-779-0985. The YouTube chat is open. I'll get some comments from there. There's an open line for you out there if you want to talk some hoops. On LeBron James, I have a question for Celtics fans. In his career, and that's in Cleveland. And it's actually a pretty easy deal to make. The deal would be Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter for LeBron James. And that gets LeBron to his farewell season with the Cavaliers, which is where I think he should end his career. And I don't think Kenny Atkinson would want it. I don't think Cleveland leadership would want it. But LeBron should go out as a Cavalier. But my question to you, Celtics fans, is would you want LeBron James for 1 year? 1 year, 1 season of LeBron James as a member of the Boston Celtics. And it doesn't take out Derek White. It doesn't take Jaylen Brown. But your big 3 are now LeBron, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. I don't know how the math would work on that, but I got to tell you, I'm a yes on it. I would take LeBron James for 1 year. The fill-in year for Jason Tatum. That's what I would do. I want to get to your phone calls on this question and many other things. I just got a text message from somebody. Stand by. Jay Sue's phone might be at work. From somebody in league circles, I would say, that I trust. Think you're going to have a trade to discuss tonight with the Celtics. I'll take that.
In on that.
I'll take that. I'll leave that as in.
Well, I guess I should say in maybe. We'll see what the trade is first.
Yeah, we'll see what if it's for a player that's if a player going out is horrendous on defense, I'm all in. How about that? We'll do that. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Jared in Waltham. Jared, hi, you're on with James Stewart, filling in for Joe Murray. How are you, Jared?
Hey, James, what's going on? I have a blockbuster trade for you that I think you might just like.
All right, let me get my trade pen and my trade notebook. What do you got?
All right. So the Celtics are point guardless, and I think that they can do just a little bit better than Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. And I think if you switch those two and flip it for the New York Knicks killer, you might just get Trae Young. And let me tell you why. Get 2 more years on his contract, and then if he's worth all of the hype, if he's worth the $45 million a year, just to make $3 more million in cap space for your team, you got yourself a 24-point per game absolute killer. Thanks, guys.
No. I think I'm a no on that one. I think I'm out on that one, Skaz. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be a hard out for me. Trae Young, nice player, but he doesn't play a lick of defense. He's had a couple good games in the playoffs against the Knicks, but other than that, what has he ever done? There's some guys in the Hawks I'd be more interested in than Trae Young on this team. Undersized guards, I'm kind of out on. I don't think that's how you win in the new NBA.
Well, right now you might have one in Peyton Pritchard as your starting point guard.
Yeah, I'm not. You mentioned the core 4 earlier. I'm not a believer in Peyton Pritchard long term as a point guard for the Celtics. I think he's an unbelievable player, great bench player. I don't think you want him being your starting point guard for 65, 70 games a year.
No, but that might be what they have to do right now because of the NBA tax. I'm just looking in the chat, Skaz, the YouTube chat, because please subscribe to the YouTube chat. Can you chat me up about the regulars in here? Like I see a bunch of people and they look like they're all good fans. They're all big Joe Murray fans. Oh, here's one. Jay Skaz is in the YouTube chat. He wants to know about Ayton. What do we think about Ayton?
Yeah, someone asked if they could afford DeAndre Ayton. I simply responded, they cannot afford DeAndre Ayton. But the chat, very positive tonight. Very happy to see Jay Stu in. You got some regulars in there. Carrie Ann in Seattle's in there a lot. Russ Fox always gets a shout out from Joe. I'm sure they'll trickle in, but a very positive chat so far tonight. We'll see if that continues with Celtics free agency and maybe some trades looming.
So, Skaz, here's my question. LeBron James for 1 year, with all the drama that comes with LeBron James, his final season in the NBA, would you welcome LeBron James to the Boston Celtics for his final year?
I would on two conditions, and you kind of already mentioned one. One is that you're not giving up anything really. You're just acquiring LeBron. So 100% I would be in on that. But my second condition is they would also have to acquire Bronny. I don't want LeBron if it's just LeBron. You need the full package. I want Bronny as well because Jay Stu, I think Bronny was a good draft pick. So,
really?
Yes, of course.
So let him play in Maine.
Yeah, I mean, if Evan Mobley can have his brother drafted by the Cavs at 40th overall, and countless other players can have, their brothers and family members drafted, and it never gets mentioned once, I'm okay with the Lakers spending the 55th pick on a, McDonald's All-American that was a projected top 20 pick before he had a heart attack. So I think the Bronny thing has been wildly overrated. That's a story for another day. But yeah, I would be in on LeBron. Why not for 1 year?
Does LeVert going to the Pistons for 2 years take the Derek White rumor to the Detroit Pistons off the board? It must, right?
I think that takes that off, and I think we might have mentioned this before the show, but I think what the Rockets have done today, Clint Capella re-signed, they've extended some guys. I think the Jaylen Brown to the Rockets thing is now off the table, so I think, you're looking at Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum going forward, and if I'm a Celtics fan, which I am, I think that's a very good three to have going forward.
And I got to tell you, Skaz, the Jaylen Brown, Derek White duo is good enough for at least third in the Eastern Conference. And I'll expand on that a little bit later on. Do you want to do in and out next? What do you think?
Yeah, why not? Give the people some in or out.
We'll do in
get
or out.
some J Stu in or out coming up.
This could be dangerous. Musings could be dangerous. In or out could be dangerous. But we'll do in or out. We'll talk to Coley Mick at 8 o'clock about the Celtics. We'll do some other things. Maybe we'll work in some more breaking news. We're at 1. I had 2.5, and I wanted the over of the breaking news sounder. So we're at 1 so far. So we need 2 more on that to hit the over. Hit big on the over. But James Stewart filling in for Joe Murray. Joe Murray's doing mornings with Matt McCarthy. 617-779-0985. You want to call in? You want to talk to me? I'll take your calls about just about anything. In or out comes up next here on the Joe Murray Show. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
What's it gonna be, McFly?
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success.
Radio Hall of Fame. Are you in or out on Colin Cowherd to the Radio Hall of Fame?
In. Absolutely in. Colin Cowherd, as wrong as he is at times, isn't afraid to say something stupid to get traction and buzz. And ironically enough, he was a longtime beat writer for a couple different outlets, but I always enjoyed his work at ESPN. I enjoy his work on Fox. We use a lot of his clips. He has a take, and that's what sports talk radio is supposed to be. It's about opinions and takes and information. So Colin Cowherd to the Radio Hall of Fame, to any media Hall of Fame, I'm in on that.
All right, let's keep it in Stu's wheelhouse. We'll go to.
You feel the same way, Skaz? Colin Cowherd?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly not for me. He's certainly not my favorite guy, but I get it. I get the Colin Cowherd thing, and I do think he's good at his job. I will give him that.
And the thing is you want emotional investment. So yeah, you got to say the loud thing that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. Trust me, I do this constantly, but. The idea is you want to go down. Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, Chris Russo, Mike Francesa. As far as national voices, like those are important voices because they have enough journalistic background and then they can go out there and have a good, strong opinion. That's what it's about. It's about having a good, strong opinion, I think.
I'm with you, Stu. I'm with you.
But you're not. You don't like Colin. It's fine.
I mean, I don't have to like him to respect, his career. He's a Hall of Famer. Okay. I don't like Chris Paul, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, too.
Yeah, but everybody gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Well, that's true as well. Speaking of, we'll save the basketball one for last because I think you're going to want to ask Coley that one
Absolutely.
as well. We'll head to wrestling for this one, Stu.
Yeah.
I know a big weekend in wrestling this past weekend. It's been a few months of this now, but Jay Stu, where are you on John Cena's heel run? Are you in or out on the heel run by John Cena?
I am in on the John Cena heel run. I was in on it. I've been in on it because it's different. The problem is that The Rock screwed it up. You have this big moment back in Toronto where The Rock is aligned with Travis Knight, whatever the rapper's name is. So he's aligned with him. They do the kick to the nads on Cody. And it's like, okay, John Cena and The Rock are going forward as villains. And then The Rock just disappears and then eventually tells Pat McAfee, don't be invested in it. It's all fake. And so John Cena's only got so many pitches at 47. And I think they're good pitches, but he's at a slower rate. So he's got to do these things. This is the part about the villain John Cena character I don't think people are understanding. He's desperate to win championships. He's desperate to win matches. And at this point in his career, that's how he's got to do it. He wants to go down as the greatest of all time, and that's what he's trying to do. And I also think that if on a bigger scale, if TKO is really trying to get away from Vince McMahon, John Cena might run away with the Vince McMahon WWF title. And then they're left with the big gold belt, and they're down to one world champion. They might actually do it come December. And hopefully that show is in Boston on December 13th, Saturday night, TD Garden. But we'll see if the Tour Boston people will give WWE the amount of money that they're looking for.
That sounds like some insider sources there.
I've been harping on this thing. I saw the plan that WWE submitted to Tour Boston, I think it's called, or Meet Boston, or whatever it is. And the WWE ask, I've talked about this on the Stick to Wrestling podcast at nauseum. The ask is embarrassing. Like WWE, like I get it, your farts don't stink, but that's a big ask.
Always good stuff with Stu. Kind of sticking with wrestling here, a mix of wrestling and pop culture. I don't get to hear much Stu on pop culture, so that's what In or Out is for.
Oh boy.
Jay Stu, former wrestler Dave Bautista is going to star in a romantic comedy. Are you in or out on Dave Bautista in a romantic comedy?
I'm in on Dave Bautista because doing more acting gigs because Dave Bautista is taking chances. Dave Bautista is doing different roles where you look at movies and you go, oh, Dave Bautista's playing this character? Oh, Bautista's doing this? It's outside of the comfort zone. Like, John Cena goes and does a movie and it's clear as day, that's John Cena. Steve Austin did a movie or did a few movies. It's like, oh, well, that's Steve Austin. Kane did horror movies. It's like, oh, that's Kane. That makes sense. But Dave Bautista is going outside of his comfort zone, and he's doing roles, and he's excelling at many of them. So I'm in on Dave Bautista and his movie credentials, his movie credits.
All right, keeping with a J. Stu themed in or out, we'll head to the world of baseball for this one. Barry Bonds will be getting a statue in San Francisco. J. Stu, are we in or out on Barry Bonds getting a statue?
I'm in on Barry Bonds getting a statue. I'm in on Barry Bonds. Should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm 44, born in 81, started watching baseball around 87, 88. And for my money, Barry Bonds is the best left-handed hitter I've ever seen. I got to see him at Fenway Park. I got to see him at the All-Star. I think he played in the All-Star game in 99. I'd have to really think about that, but I think he was there. It was Tony Gwynn that I missed. But Barry Bonds goes down as one of the greatest hitters, whether he was on something or not on something. And by the way, I'm all for my athletes being on something if it makes my entertainment value be better. So Barry Bonds should not only be in the Hall of Fame with Clemens and A-Rod and a whole bunch of others, but he should absolutely have a statue in San Francisco, his home ballpark. Absolutely, 100%. There are a bunch of baseballs. I've been to the San Francisco ballpark. It's a beautiful ballpark, but they have all sorts of baseballs in the outfield marking how many home runs he's hit, where they've been hit. So I'm in on Barry Bonds getting a statue.
100% with you. Barry Bonds deserves all. I mean, maybe not the best guy, but one of the best baseball players of all time.
Absolutely.
All right, Stu, we'll head to the world of Netflix for this one. I know the afternoon show likes to pick on Jerry every once in a while, Jerry Jones, but Netflix is releasing a docuseries on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I'm sure we'll get some great audio from that. Jay, Stu, are you in or out on a Netflix docuseries on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys?
I'm in on it if it's objectively done. If I see on the credits that it's Jerry Jones produced, Jerry Jones as the special producer, as the director, if there's any Jerry Jones involvement, out. But if it's independently done, I'm in. Because I think they'll tell the true story of what Jerry Jones is. And Jerry Jones is like a lot of these NFL owners. They invest big time at first. They build it up. They win a couple championships. And then they just kind of glide along. Business win here, business win there. Oh, I need a new stadium. I'll go get Bill Parcells. I get my new stadium. That's more money. That's more revenue. The Cowboys are going to make the playoffs here. But you know what? I've got this oil refinery over here that I can invest in. I've got this property that I can buy with this money here. And that's the way that a lot of these owners, look at what's going on at Fenway, to bring it back to the Red Sox. They used the Red Sox as a depressed asset when the John Henry Group bought them. They grew everything into Fenway Sports Group, and now they can move money all around. That's what they're doing. That's what these owners are doing. They spend big early, they win championships early, and then they adjust. And that's what they do. So if it's independent, Jerry Jones, I'm in. If it's got Jerry Jones's fingerprints on it, maybe a poor choice of words there, I'm out on it.
All right, Stu, we will wrap up with this one tonight. I believe you're going to kind of maybe ask our next guest about this. But, Stu, are you in or out on LeBron James potentially being traded?
I am in on it. I'd like to see him finish his career as a Cavalier. I'd actually kind of like to see him here as a Celtic and have a bridge year as a Boston Celtic. But if this is LeBron James's last year, which I don't know if it is, he probably hasn't made that decision yet, a LeBron James farewell tour, not as a Laker, but as a Cavalier, or a member of the Celtics, I'm in on that. 100% in on that. I think it would be great. Have LeBron James fill in for Jason Tatum's injured year. In. It doesn't cost you brown or white. In. Totally in. We'll ask Coley Mick about this if we're all done with In or Out.
That is going to wrap up on Monday Night Edition of In or Out. Thank you, Stu.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I am very excited because Coley Mick of the Rollin' Jays podcast, Section 10, he's a big Celtics fan, and we're going to green team Skaz. We're a green team with Coley Mick. I've got questions about LeBron James, the Celtics play. He loves the Gonzalez draft pick. He loves a lot of things. We're going to talk about play style, the Missoula. Where is my Joe Missoula contract extension? We're going to do all that with Coley Mick coming up next here on the Sports Hub. After I get you updated on Sports Hub headlines, I think.
From the Telfair Type Studios, WBZ FM and HD1. It's not just
discussion with Joe Mazzulla about a contract extension?
Joe and I, first of all, keep any of those discussions in-house. But we've got Joe under contract for multiple years right now. And so we certainly want Joe to be around here for a long time.
That's an appropriate upbeat tune, Skaz. You know why? Happy birthday, Joe Mazzulla. My coach, my team, happy birthday, Joe Mazzulla. And now I want my contract extension for Joe Mazzulla. Joining us right now is a favorite of mine. I listened to him on the Rollin' Jays podcast on Section 10. It is Coley Mick. Coley Mick, my friend, how are you, sir?
Jay Stu, I've never been better. Thank you so much for having me on. Happy birthday to not just my coach, Joe Mazzulla, but my muse, my guiding light, my North Star in this world.
Oh, Coley, it's so good to talk to you. I think, we got Skaz. We have breaking news, Coley.
Breaking sports news. Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. On 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Luka Garza, 2 years, $5.5 million, fully guaranteed contract. The center is now a member of the Boston Celtics. Sources tell ESPN and Shams. Luka Garza. Let's do the Google search on him. Coley, you know off the top of your head your favorite Luka Garza moment?
I mean, he was in college for about a decade. I believe he was an Iowa fella, a traditional center. Like, you want to talk White Al Jefferson, you're talking Luka Garza. Modern NBA, not sure, but you would have said the same about Luke Cornett when they signed him too. So I don't know. It's my main concern now is I understand financially we have to be shopping at the bottom of the bin right now, but I think I'd rather just see Amari Williams out there, to be quite frank.
Right? You'd rather have the young kid who's got some potential, not necessarily a guaranteed contract. But I think he was with the Wolves last year. I'm doing this quick Google search because
the Wolves believe he was with the Jazz when he first came into the league.
Let's see what the scouting. Wait, this isn't Naz Reid? I thought.
No.
Bill Simmons told me Naz Reid was leaving the Wolves. Where's the accountability for Bill Simmons and Naz Reid leaving the Wolves? Let me get a good scouting report on Luka Garza, 6'10" center, war number 55. He's known as a rebounder. How's his passing? Because if he's a good passer in a pick and roll, maybe he's a rolling center. University of Iowa, Coley, you mentioned that. He was a 52nd pick overall by the Pistons in the 2021 draft.
Pistons.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad that they signed somebody, so Derek White's not going there. Got a little bit of an outside touch, maybe? Maybe.
If he wasn't quite Frank Kaminsky, if we just want to think like recent white Midwestern NBA centers. Like, he's not the true 7-footer like Frank. He wasn't a first rounder like Frank. Like, he kind of was low budget. Now he went crazy. If they were 1992, we're talking max deal for Luka Garza. That's his kind of game. We'll see. I don't hate having a counter punch. I don't hate having like a technical NBA big. But we're in a tough spot. This salary issue, these things that Grant Williams and Jaylen Brown did to us. Why did they do this to us, Jay Stu?
I got to tell you, Coley, it's a frustrating thing for me is that we're talking more about the business of basketball than the actual basketball of basketball. Because, like, if you were to tell me, Coley, that, and we'll get back to the Mazzulla contract extension because it is his birthday, and that's what I think would be the greatest gift for all Celtics fans is a Joe Mazzulla contract extension. If you want to fight me on it, 617-779-0985. Because I will fight you because, I don't know, the guy draws up open shots, and I like open shots. So if you don't like open shots, I guess he's not the head coach for you. But I want to talk more about the team, and if you're telling me that Brad Stevens had to trade away Porzingis and Holiday because they were declining basketball players, I can live with that. But it feels more that they're being dealt away because of the money. Remember, Coley, when the Celtics got Drew Holiday, Brad was gushing. The entire organization was gushing. This was our Kevin Garnett. This was the modern Kevin Garnett with what he does for the room, what he does defensively. He's always going to make the smart basketball play. And then you get him and then you trade him, and it's like, okay, you got a player who can score, but he's a $27 million sixth man. Brad has to be hurting. Like, I'm hurting with the fact that Holiday, who does everything right, he's the true professional, gets traded for a microwave scorer. It's a little frustrating, Coley. What do you more generically, Coley? What do you make out of the Celtics moving on from Porzingis and from Drew Holiday?
I think Kristaps this year kind of left how he's left every other stop he's had in his NBA career. Mavericks fans told us going into the finals last year, just wait and see. And it didn't work out so well for them, but they were right in the long term. It did not end well as it ended. Drew and like Brad, like you said, couldn't have been happier to have landed Drew Holiday. When they agreed with the extension last year, because they signed that the second they could. Brad talked about it when they acquired him. Like, he's not extension eligible yet. The second he's available to do it, he will be signed. I was under the assumption that, like, there had been a conversation. Like, you're not going to play all 4 years here. When it's time to move you, we'll work with you. We'll get you to a place that you're going to be happy. It coming out immediately that Drew Holiday was not happy to be sent back to Portland, who would be, kind of hurt me a little bit. Brad also immediately during the draft press conference alluding to the fact that he was just learning about all of the ramifications of the new CBA tells me a lot about like how valuable Mike Zarin is to this front office, because I guarantee it wasn't a shock to him that these things had to come up, but it is the reality. I think they would have been okay paying it under a different ownership, and also if Jason Tatum's leg didn't explode. I think that was a wrench that they didn't much care for, and if I could be honest, I don't care for it either.
No, I want to talk about the basketball. I want to talk about putting together the best five to start, and Holiday would have been part of that this year. The other thing that we've talked about a little bit on Felger and Maz is my understanding in checking around the league is that the Celtics could have started the season with Holiday and Porzingis in play and move them at the deadline, and your tax bill doesn't come due until your official final payrolls are due, which is either the NBA trade deadline or it's whatever that weird like waiver deadline is, where it might be
the last time to sign before the playoffs.
Yes, that might be when the salaries are due. So you could have started the season and said, okay, this is our team. They should be no worse than the third team in the East. Like, I just look at it and I go, Brown and White, Porzingis and Holiday, that's at least a 3 seed. And if it's worse than that, you deal them off. Or maybe you keep going and they're at the 5th spot, but you know Tatum's coming back March 11th. And I just use that as a random date. And then you go into the playoffs and you've got Tatum, who's, yes, on a minutes restriction, but Tatum on a minutes restriction is better than a lot of other players. And so then you go into the playoffs and you're like, okay, maybe this is the actual last shot for it. And Porzingis' deal comes off the books, but you're paying into the tax because you think you have a chance to make the NBA Finals. And that's what's frustrating to me, Coley, is that I want to play for championships. And this is, going into the LeBron James question, which we'll get to in a second. But I don't want to throw away seasons in the NBA. They're too valuable. I don't want to waste a Jaylen Brown season. I don't want to waste a Derek White season. I have to, because of injury, wasted Jason Tatum season. And so it's just frustrating for me where it feels like they're punting on the season.
Right now, it definitely feels that way, but I don't feel that way because of the trades. I still think there's a lot of time left to judge the trades. I'm not that out on Simons. If he could be Kemba with knees, for example, that would be tremendous because we didn't really get to experience that. I believe you're also right about the tax deadline being right after the trade deadline, because if you remember with the Bol trade that infuriated a certain portion of Celtics fans, that was to get under the tax. And Wick came out, he said, I'm being very realistic about this season. We traded a guy who doesn't matter to get under the tax. If that's what people are going to be mad at me for, I will pay the tax when push comes to shove. I do think because it's not Wick anymore, however involved or not involved he is, Bill Chisholm has to prove that he is willing to pay this tax, and I'm not going to hold his feet to the fire during the year Tatum isn't healthy. I do find it interesting that the Celtics, and I don't believe this is due anytime soon, but given that free agency just opened, you would have thought they would have done it by now. They didn't apply for the season-long waiver for Jason Tatum to be out, which does tell me, like you were just saying, they do kind of anticipate him coming back for a potential playoff push. So I'm sitting here looking at that August, I believe it's 25th date. That is the day they can combine Anthony Simons with other contracts. Right now they can only trade him for someone making less or the exact amount as him. But after 2 months from the day that they made that acquisition, they can package him with other deals like a Sam Hauser, like a Niang, and then they can go out and shop for someone in that $37 to $40 million range, which that's Drew Holiday came later in the offseason. NBA teams don't necessarily hate waiting longer to make those kind of trades. It's just very frustrating at day one of free agency where it seems like we're checking our pockets like Derek White after a made three and we're coming up empty.
Well, and you'll remember that the Holiday trade was made a few days before the season. Karl-Anthony Towns was traded from the Wolves to the Knicks a few days before the season. So these things can happen. The Holiday thing is just, it hurts my soul. And he's not going to last in Portland. Although, if you want to logically talk about why he would make it in Portland, it's because they have Scoot Henderson. They have a bunch of young guards out there. And I'm not going to do 20 minutes on Portland Trail Blazers basketball, but you want a reason why Portland wants him? It's because he's a leader. He's the adult in the room. And Portland hopes that he will teach these guys. But if he's unhappy, as Steve Bulpett reported in real time, he won't be in Portland long. And that makes me worried that he's going to go to one of these contenders and it's going to pork the Celtics even more.
It's exactly what happened to Milwaukee. So, yeah, I don't know why we would think we're impervious to that as well.
All right, Coley, we are going to come back. We're going to talk about Joe Mazzulla. We're going to talk about the play style. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other Celtic stuff. I know you are excited about this draft class for the Celtics, so I want to get your thoughts on public radio, if you will. And, we'll come back on the other side. It's James Stewart in for Joe Murray. Coley Mick is with us. And if you want to talk to me or Coley, you can join us at 617-779-0985. More sports. Yeah, sports. Coming up next here on 98.5, The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on The Sports Hub.
Hi, this is Jeff Kaplan from Innuendo. The sun's up earlier and is ready to ruin your expensive flooring and furniture. It's time for automated window and skylight shades from Hunter Douglas. Schedule a visit from our expert team before it's too late. Innuendo in Natick, locally owned for over 35 years. Innuendo.com.
Hey, it's Felger here, and there's nothing more refreshing than an ice-cold Surfside iced tea and vodka or Surfside lemonade and vodka to break the...
I mean, I think it really boils down to those first two games in a lot of ways in my mind. I don't know Jason's injury. Who knows what you do if that series is 3-1 you at that time, and do you finish it out or whatever the case, right? Things can go different ways, but I thought the part of those games that stood out to me was more than anything when we got stagnant and we played without pace, and you could just feel it. You could see the walking up. You see all that. I think we're going to try to address some of that. I think
the pace of play and the style, and he's still bitter about the Knicks series. I'm still bitter about it because they were stagnant. Older team down the stretch, frustrating, but they were still getting open shots. They were missing open shots, and I like open shots. And Coley Mick of the Roland Jays podcast in Section 10, you know who else likes open shots?
Who's that?
My coach, your coach, the birthday boy, Joe Mazzulla. So where's my contract extension, Coley? Tell me where my contract extension is.
It sounds like Brad kind of alluded to one already being on the books. I think Brian Robb was the one who noted the detail from the post round one. Still ridiculous that there are 2 nights for the NBA draft, but that's neither here nor there. The post round one breakdown from Brad. They asked. He seemed to say he's signed for multiple years. I think I saw Michael Hawley saying it was a 1+1. Maybe he was guessing, but I don't know. We've had genius coaches in this town on long-term deals, and we never knew the details of them before. Maybe he's next. I wouldn't be upset about that.
No, I wouldn't either. I know, I hate lame duck years on coaches, or at least we think they are. I'll tell you the reporting from Michael Hawley on Friday on the Zolak and Bertrand program. He said that he thinks that there's a team option and that an extension is coming soon. Matt McCarthy and I talked to Gary Washburn of the Globe a few weeks ago, and he said that Joe Mazzulla is considered a good young coach, will have a job for life with the Celtics, and he wasn't worried about a contract extension from Joe Mazzulla. So, Coley, my question to you is, with Tatum being out, do you think, and I know the answer is yes on my end, do you think Joe Mazzulla is going to adjust how the Celtics play this upcoming season with no Jason Tatum, at least for the first part of the year?
I think you have to. I think it's going to be his most trying test to date, and this is a guy who went from kind of the end of the bench to here are your lob threats. It was Jason Tatum, so it's both ends of the court. Tatum's become such a prolific passer, shooter, driver to the rim, a thing he struggled with severely when he first got into the league, and now he's among the elite. The only thing he can't do well is draw fouls, and I mostly blame the refs for that, not so much him.
Good job,
so
Tommy.
Yeah,
good job, Tommy Heinsohn.
No one's taught me more about how to view the officials than that man. Rest in peace, Tommy. But yeah, I don't know how it couldn't be harder. And when that's the one thing. If we don't trade Simons, I'm not too upset about it because I do think he would help. He would have helped tremendously in that Knicks series because he is a jitterbug. He is going to go get his own bucket. He is going to destagnate a lot of that. But I think this, as we've seen with most of the trades that have happened so far in the NBA, a lot of those score first guards are on the market. And I think there are more out there if that's the route Stevens wants to pursue.
Here's what I think people miss about Joe Mazzulla. And this is why we all believe Brad Stevens is a good coach. He's an outstanding coach. When he was coaching, he's excellent. He's a top 5 coach, maybe the number 1 coach at different times in his coaching career at the NBA level. Brad Stevens had a team of what I would call less thans in the Bridgie Celtics, as we called them during Felger and Maz. And so he coached up lesser talent, and his out-of-timeout plays were great. Joe Mazzulla was handed the keys to a team that had just lost the NBA Finals. So the expectations and the eyeballs on how Joe Mazzulla coaches are vastly different. Joe Mazzulla came in here with a turnkey operation, and he won a championship in his second year, but he never coached the underdog team, the quote-unquote underdog team, and had a higher win total than he was supposed to. And I think that's part of the reason why Mazzulla is criticized as a coach, is he's had this turnkey championship team this will be the first time that we see Joe with a quote-unquote less than team, and I still think they should be 3 in the East, no matter what. But with the Tatum injury, we now see if Joe Mazzulla can coach. Does that make sense, Coley?
Yeah, I definitely think it's that, and I think people viewed his experimentation, especially in year one, as this guy's stubborn and he's too over his head. Right? I was nauseated every time people brought up, why isn't he calling timeouts in game 37 down 2 against the Hawks on the road? Like, what do you mean? Why would he? We need to figure some stuff out. He's a first-time head coach. He's also training his guys to be ready for everything that you would think a region of people who watch Bill Belichick do this forever would be used to the idea of using some regular season games as trial and error. And he's going to get unfairly criticized for, I think, this Knicks series. I think the team was a lot more injured, needed a good job hiding that heading into the series. I don't know. I'm very high on him, and as you said, his ability to draw up open shots. It drives me crazy when people say, "Oh, all he does is shoot threes." When Kristaps was healthy in the first year, he led the league in points per possession and post ups. If there's anything he's going to get for Luka Garza, the freshly signed face of the franchise, it's going to be open post ups that he's going to be able to score on if he's going to be out there. Joe can draw up really everything. He's great out of timeouts as well. And oh yeah, the one thing people conveniently like to forget when they talk about Joe Mazzulla, he's the reason all the do Tatum and Brown hate each other conversations ended, because he was the one who got them so blissfully together on the court. They were always good off the court.
Well, and so part of that too is the second half of the Ime Udoka run. When Brown and Tatum really got it together, because I still believe that they were threatened. Like, you wanted Udoka as a coach, now you got to play like it. Don't play like what did Udoka say that they were playing like? They were playing like bitches at one point. I think that's an actual quote from the coach.
Everything, yeah.
So like they got their act together the second half of that season, and they made the finals, and they lost to the Warriors because the Warriors were a better cutting team, Coley. They cut better than everybody else, but they've been cutting. But that's going to be the new buzzword, Coley, is cutting, because Scalabrini told me so, and that's what it is.
Is that with our new bench piece, Hugo?
Yes, and this is where I'm leading you to, Coley, because Hugo Gonzalez was the number 28 pick in this year's NBA draft. Last year, Coley, did you know that Draft Express, and in fact specifically on January 23rd, 2024, had Hugo Gonzalez as the number 5 pick in the draft behind Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey? Did you know that, Coley?
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Hugo Gonzalez?
Yeah, the international players are always so tough to judge because they're playing 4 minutes a game for a team of former NBA players with Real Madrid. But I do find it interesting, if you go back and watch a lot of his World Cup exposure, specifically against teams like France and Team USA, he was out there holding his own against players his own age, like Cooper Flagg, like Jeremiah Fears, like every French player that's been drafted in the first round over the last 2 years, including several in this draft, including the first overall pick last year in Zachary Reese-Archet. He's held his own time and time again against other top competition of his own age. In that game against Cooper Flagg, of course, Team USA won. This was the U17 circuit. Of course, Team USA won. That's what we do. But he was Spain's best player, and Spain has been one of the powers underneath Team USA internationally this entire millennium. So this is a guy Real Madrid saw at age 9 they've had in their system, much like Luka Doncic had in their system forever. And they were sad to see him go. They were sad to see it. That tells me a lot. If the team you're leaving is like, listen, we get it, this is your dream, but we'd wish to win more championships with you here. Yeah, that's a good thing to me. So he's raw. He's athletic. He had the biggest hands in the combine this year. I'm all in. I'm all in on letting the kid develop. And that's the one thing with Tatum. I don't think you can do this 2 timelines thing the Warriors lied about. With Tatum out, if they are going to commit to this, I am glad he's over here. Let him get his feet wet so that when Tatum is back, he's ready to go.
He's probably your eighth player, and he's going to go back and forth between the Celtics, Maine, Boston, and Maine. So you'll be on site for a lot of those games, I'm sure, Coley. I want firsthand scouting reports because he's in Maine, and of course, well, actually, do we admit that you're in Maine, or are you still in parts unknown?
No, it's super known I'm in Maine, but no one's coming up here to do anything about it, so it's okay.
You and Chad Finn should get to know each other. Chad Finn, is a main guy. The other NBA draft is Amari Williams. And I was told by somebody in NBA circles that his passing skills could be compared to Robert Parrish. He's a good passer. He's a good defender coming out of Kentucky. 7'5" wingspan, defensive prowess, basketball IQ. Feels like potentially he'll grow into being a rim running big if he makes it, but he's a second round pick. Coley, what are your thoughts on Amari Williams?
I like Amari Williams. I end up watching a lot of Kentucky and hearing a lot about Kentucky from my co-host of a decade, and Tyler, who's a Kentucky grad. I like Amari. He does leave you wanting a little bit in terms of, hey, put the ball in the basket. I don't want to call him Ben Simmons-esque because that would be unfair to anybody. But there were a couple times, especially in the tournament, where it'd be like, Amari, you could dominate here, and you didn't. With that being said, he is extremely athletic. He can get the rebound and push it the length of the court, and you feel comfortable with him running your offense, at least at the college level, getting the rebound, pushing it, finding someone with a nice assist. He is a tremendous passer. I do believe he's going to be a menace around the rim. I do believe he will be a good lob threat. I was surprised initially that he was getting kind of sent directly to Maine and Hugo was going to bounce back and forth. If Luka Garza is going to be his competition in camp, I feel pretty confident about Amari Williams being able to make an impact on this year's Celtics team and moving forward.
Luka Garza, apparently a big Brad Stevens guy. Brad, I guess, has been pursuing him for a little bit of time, according to the Wolves athletic beat writer, and I don't have his name in front of me. Skaz pointed this out to me, that the Wolves beat writer for the Athletic is saying, yep, this is a Brad Stevens guy. This is somebody who's Brad has wanted for a long time. So he's your Lou Cornett replacement, at least for now. He might be your starting center on opening night at the rate of the Celtics selling off players.
Honestly, yeah, it's not my favorite. We've had so many fun off seasons last year.
This is not my favorite either, Coley.
No, we've had much more enjoyable. But I mean, Brad does like to pull a rabbit out of the hat as well. So I'm gonna keep hope until he tells me there's no reason to. Especially, like, I look at a team like the Spurs. They took a guard because they had the second overall pick. They did not win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. The NBA didn't hand them another generation of talent. But they drafted a guy who doesn't really fit with their last first-round pick in Stephon Castle. It doesn't really fit with De'Aaron Fox. Can I have one of those two guys, please? That would help me out tremendously in terms of my enjoyment level for this year and moving forward.
There's a trade there with there's a way that the Celtics can get Sabonis, and I haven't done the math on it, but they need a big. The Celtics could use a big who shoots if you're still going to go with open shots, and they happen to be 3-pointers because math works. There's a trade there with the Kings and Sabonis. Jaylen Brown for Sabonis. I don't do it at this point. No. But it's a thought. Like, I hesitate for it, but I don't want to move on from Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown, with all the work that he's done in the community, he wants to be here. It's clear he wants to be here. He wants to be the leader, and I think he's going to get MVP votes this year. And I want Jaylen Brown here because of I know that I can win a championship with Jaylen Brown as one of my big pieces.
Right. Yeah, I'm less thinking about trading Jaylen. Derek White gets older every time I look at his basketball reference page, and it's upsetting because I love Derek White, and Jason Tatum loves Derek White. You got Jason Tatum last year. He says Al's his favorite guy on the team. Derek White's taking offense to that in tongue-in-cheek matter. Al looks like he's ready to set screens and do pick and rolls with Steph Curry any minute now. And not, so like who are Jason Tatum's friends going to be when the time he gets back? I think that's a very important part of all this. What is he training for? I know you saw the tweet on Friday, him not really enjoying going through all the motions and getting back to being healthy with the injuries. So yeah, what does he have to look forward to? I don't think you can just sell him on a lottery ticket at AJ DeBansta, as much as that would be great. I don't know that that's what's like getting him through so that he can be back March, April.
There is a big they could go get if a friend of Tatum plays on the Miami Heat.
I have him on my list. Unless Pat Riley is as senile as he appears, would he ever trade us Bam Adebayo?
I mean, if the offer's right, I don't know what that offer is. I don't know. I'd have to look at what the math because, as we know, thank you, JJ Redick, the math always works.
Right.
Still, like, I love playing the JJ. JJ Redick's a good coach on the grease board. He just doesn't communicate necessarily well. Let me pull up the Miami Heat. Bam makes 37.
Yeah, so it would be. It's very doable because they are losing Duncan Robinson, and I know Spo likes to keep a white shooter on him. So Sam Hauser and Anthony Simon's money would work. Obviously, picks would have to go back to Miami as well, but if they're willing to help us out, yeah, Bam would be very high on my list of targets for sure.
Yeah, and that's a friend of Jason Tatum, which I'm all for. Coley Mick, my final question to you is, if it's for one season and it doesn't cost you Jaylen Brown or Derek White, would you welcome LeBron James to the Boston Celtics?
It's already rocky times with the Boston Celtics. I don't want to introduce anyone even remotely associated with Fenway Sports Group to that team. It's just not something I'm particularly interested in. But other than that, I wish him well.
See, I would welcome it because I want a bridge year. I don't want to throw away a season. I think LeBron would help you win games, and there would be so much drama.
For sure.
There would be so much mischief. But LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, I don't know how the math works. That's for somebody else to figure out and me to criticize later on. But like, I'd do it for 1 year, and because it would be fun. It would be fun having LeBron as a Celtic because it's so polarizing, right? Because God, so good.
It would be I think more criticized than the decision by both parties. Like I think it would be that level. It wouldn't even just be LeBron to the Celtics. It would be Lakers LeBron to the Celtics. Like it would be an extra additive wrinkle to it. It would be tremendous theater, of course, but yeah, if there was a way to just like have Tatum's money pause and you could just add that, I'd be fine with it. But giving up any type of asset that could potentially help Luka and the Lakers, I couldn't be more against. That's where I have to draw the line.
And that's where I put the provisions on it. Is like, you're not trading Brown, you're not trading White. It's just LeBron's coming here for 7 different players and some picks that hopefully you win another title and they don't really matter or anything like that. Coley, any closing thoughts here?
No, just thank you so much for having me. When I logged on here, I saw the Red Sox were up 7-0, and then I just saw someone say that Ellie De La Cruz stepped to the dish in an attempt to tie the game. So that things going well down at the friendly confines, as they always are.
So when we started, it was 7-0, and I was like, oh, this will be easy, no problem. Like, game will be on in the background. I can talk hoops with Coley, no issue. And then the Reds put on a 4 spot, and now I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, is Coley going to be on the air with us doing Tied in the 8th on Section 10? That was a legit concern of mine. Rafaela misplayed a ball. The Reds were just pounding Garrett Crochet for a little bit. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be simulcast on the Section 10 while they're doing Tied in the 8th. And, there'll be a little bit of a distraction going on. But thankfully, that did not happen. And for your sake, Coley, I hope there isn't a Tied in the 8th tonight, because that means there's bad things going on at Fenway Park, and I do not want that.
No, especially after Willie just hit a inside the park home run, a legitimate one too, which is very funny. So yeah, no Tied in the 8th tonight, please and thank you. But I appreciate you having me on, and hope we can do this again sometime, pal.
Coley, I appreciate you coming on and talking some hoops. You're part of the Rollin' Jays. You are on Section 10. You're on Twitter at Coley Mick. And I hope we can have another meal at Kowloon soon, because we haven't had one of those in a long time. So thank you. It's good to talk to you. Coley Mick joined us. We got Lauren Campbell coming up at 9 tonight to talk some Bruins and some breaking news. I don't know what we're going to do next segment, but maybe we'll take your phone calls at 617-779-0985. It's James Stewart. I'm going to get you updated here on what's going on with the Red Sox, and we'll do that right now.
Sports Hub.
Now a San Antonio Spur. We think Al Horford is going to the Warriors, but we'll see on that. The Celtics have added a big man, a Brad Stevens target, according to Minnesota Twitter, by the name of Luka Garza. 2 years, $5.5 million, fully guaranteed. He is the newest center for the Boston Celtics. Right now, he's penciled in as your starting center, I think. I don't know. We're not sure about that, but right now he is, I think. Skaz, do you want to do musings? Do you want me to rant about WWE? Do you want me to, in real time, react to the fact that the Red Sox it's 8-5, and they had a 6-0 lead against the Cincinnati Reds, and now it's 8-5, and I was worried that Coley was going to have to do tied in the 8th? What should we do here, Skaz? What should we do?
This is a afternoon commandment. We can't get the Red Sox in trouble for anything they haven't done yet, so they haven't blown it yet. So if you would like to
but they're teetering, Skaz.
They're teetering.
The play that I did see was Rafaela misplay a ball in center field, and it's like, oh, he's so smooth. He's Michael Harris III. Like, he makes that. Well, Michael Harris III makes that play. An elite level center fielder makes that play, and I'm just dumping on him. But Crochet gets out of the inning. We're going to talk to Lauren Campbell at 9 o'clock. She is setting up. We've got some Brad Marchand news. We've got some Bruins stuff. I want to talk to her about the line combinations. She's got a few takes on how Bruins fans and Bruins Twitter is reacting to some of the contracts that they've signed. And I want to talk to the hockey people because I think the hockey people feel like they're underserviced at times on this station. I don't think so, but I think there are some people out there who do. So let's see. What do we got here? Okay, we can do this. All right. I'm going to give you a few minutes on Night of Champions. Gaz, can I do that? Is that okay?
Please.
All right. So WWE did Night of Champions. On Saturday, John Cena retained over CM, is struggling with trying to be the best that he can be. And he knows that he's lost a step, so he's kind of doing whatever it takes to still be the champ, to still be the best that he can be. And with the Seth Rollins interference helping John Cena win, you continue the story with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. That's kind of my big takeaway from Night of Champions, Skaz. I know you're not a wrestling person. Joe's a big wrestling person, I know. Garrett Crochet. 9 strikeouts, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned. Not great. Not great from your ace. But that's kind of my quick little Night of Champions recap that I don't think kills the audience. if we had callers, if you wanted to talk wrestling, I'd be happy to do that. If you want to talk to Lauren about hockey coming up at 9 o'clock, 617-779-0985. I go back to the Scaz. We kind of let off the show with the Red Sox. We did the second segment about the business of sports. It still annoys me how much business of sports we have to talk. I'd rather talk about players and the Celtics adding instead of dismantling. And it's a frustrating point for me. Like, I don't want to see Al Horford go. I don't want to see Lou Cornette go. I don't want to see Porzingis go. I don't want to see Holiday go. It's frustrating as a fan having to worry about this tax and that tax. And here's my question, Scaz. Do you think Pags would have paid it? You think Pags would have paid $6 billion for the team and then paid the repeater tax and had a $500 million bill?
I know that's what Pags wants us to believe if he was the owner of the team. I'm not so convinced of that. I think he would have used the Tatum injury, to get out of that as well. So I think it looks good on paper, but I'm not so sure that would. It's a lot easier to say you would spend $500 million extra dollars than it is to actually spend the $500 million extra dollars.
So if Jason Tatum doesn't get hurt, they probably still lose to the Knicks.
Yeah. Yep.
If Tatum doesn't get hurt, we're not talking about selling off Holiday or Porzingis, right? Right?
That's what they want you to
play
think.
for championships, right?
I still think they're gone.
Yeah, I do too, which is unfortunate. That's kind of the frustrating thing, is that they can say if Tatum's still there, they keep Porzingis and Holiday. What I do think might happen, though, Scaz, is instead of keeping Holiday and Porzingis, they get better players instead of salary dumps. I think that might have been the move there, is that Holiday, maybe he stays, but Porzingis turns into a more viable option, and the Celtics are not picking at 28 and 32 or, whatever they traded out of, that they're actually trading Porzingis for a good player. But we don't know because Tatum got hurt. All right, top of the hour headlines at 9. Lauren Campbell is here in studio. She's going to join us. She's going to talk hockey, Brad Marchand, the Bruins moves. The Red Sox may be melting down. They may not be. She can talk about that as well. She writes for Mass Live. She writes for the Bruins. She's covered the Red Sox. I think she was around for the Celtics when they were in the NBA Finals. She hangs out with Karen Garigian, so she knows football too. But Lauren Campbell from Mass Live coming up next. If you want to join us, 617-779-0985. You know what, Scaz? Let's do this. No, that's not screened yet. Okay, let's go to the top of the hour. Let's do that. We'll come back with Lauren and let's do that. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Get out. Shut up, James.
You're listening to Joe. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray.
9 o'clock headlines. Luke Cornett has agreed to a 4-year, $41 million deal with the San Antonio Spurs. He's leaving the Boston Celtics, but coming to the Boston Celtics, Luka Garza, a center, has agreed to a 2-year, $5.5 million fully guaranteed deal with the Celtics. The Red Sox, after 6 innings, they are leading 9-5. They had a 6-0 lead at one point in this ballgame. Garrett Crochet is out of the game, 6 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 4 earned runs out of 5 given up. Trevor Story had a 3-run homer. Wilyer Abreu had an inside the park home run, and Jarren Duran hit a home run. Red Sox leading 9-5 right now as Greg Weissert, much to the delight of Tyler Milliken, is now into the ballgame. NHL news, Brad Marchand, 6 years, $32 million, stays as a Florida Panther. Mitch Marner gets an 8-year, $12 million contract. He has been traded from Toronto to Vegas. Brock Lopez has agreed to a 2-year, $18 million deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. Sports Hub headlines for 9 o'clock are brought to you by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for residential and commercial plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain cleaning. Day or night and always done right. Visit superservicetoday.com. I'm James Stewart. Your next headline comes at about 9:30.
New England plays here.
Down the right side, it's a separation. Touchdown pass. Yes. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Off the draw, Marchand heads in, a shot, he scores! Brad Marchand, top corner, and the Panthers strike first with 10:48 left in the first. What a start to this hockey game for Brad Marchand. He beats everybody down the ice, and Marchand upstairs gives the Panthers the first one.
It's on Lundell. Doesn't win that draw from Draisaitl. Out to the point. It's worked across to Bouchard, but the pass broken up. Marchand in, past Wallman. Marchand, and he scores! Marchand went to the backhand. He sneaks it down low past Pickard. What an individual effort for Brad Marchand, and the Panthers have taken a 3-0 lead here in Game 5.
Tub. Just after 9 o'clock. James Stewart playing the role of Joe Murray, except not as good as Joe Murray. But, you know, I have my own unique personality, Skaz. Would you say I have a unique personality? Yes, no, maybe. Unique personality?
Yeah,
no?
Absolutely.
Unique is the nice way of putting it.
Personality. I think we got a lot of unique personalities around here.
Personality. Somebody else with a unique personality, see what I did there with the segue, is Lauren Campbell. She writes from Mass Live. She covers the Bruins on the beat. She's covered the Red Sox. She's covered the Patriots. She covered the Celtics championship run. And she joins us right now as soon as you or Skaz turn her microphone on, or maybe I have to reach over. There we go. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Thank you for coming in. Lauren and I have been friends for a very long time. I'm happy for her success, and I wanted to give her a bigger voice. And so she is in. We're going to talk hockey. If the Red Sox melt down, we'll instantly react to that. But Brad Marchand is staying with the Florida Panthers as an NHL free agency officially starts tomorrow, but everything is kind of leaking out as far as what's going on around the league. Brad Marchand, 6 years, $32-ish million. Lauren, what do you think of the Brad Marchand contract extension here?
Holy smokes was my first reaction, because I didn't think he would get more than 4 years. He's 37. He's coming off double hip surgery a couple years ago now, and I know that he always said, I have another level to reach, even though he was putting up points per game after his surgery. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's still 37. And while that's not old in real life, you go into the sports world, that's old. And so he'll be, 42, 43 when the deal is done. And you just don't know. You don't know how that deal is going to age. But it's a risk for the Panthers, but I think for the short term, it's not a risk because they're pretty much keeping that core together. They're going for the dynasty, and he's a big part of that.
And you saw with Ekblad, he took less money to stay in Florida. But should the Bruins, there's so much weird stuff with the Bruins right now. Is I think Brad wanted a contract before the season. I think Ty Anderson has reported this. Didn't get it. Then they trade him. They had a deal with the Kings that changed because Brad wanted to go to Florida. If you're the Bruins and Brad had hit free agency, Do you bring him back for this type of contract?
I don't know, for 6 years. I don't think so. I think you go maybe the most 3, but he bet on himself, I think, at the end of the day, and it paid off for him, and it probably will pay off for the Panthers, and it certainly paid off in the playoffs for them this cup run. But I just don't think, as much as Marchand was so important to this team for 13 years, I just think that they're starting, kind of going into a new leadership, kind of a fresh start. And if they figured out a contract situation, obviously he would have been a perfect fit here. But I think now it's kind of just time to turn the page on that and just kind of move forward. But I certainly wouldn't commit 6 years to any 37-year-old.
So, Lauren, who is the next captain of the Boston Bruins? Who do you want to? Who do you think will be the next captain of the Bruins?
I think it'll be David Pastrnak. I don't know. I'll be curious to see if they actually name a captain this year. Marco Sturm in his intro press conference was like, it's not a necessity. I want to get to know the players first. It's not something that needs to be done right away. But I think Pastrnak, I think that, especially when Marchand got traded, I think that he stepped up a lot. He's starting to find his voice. I think people really, really respect him. And he's so funny. Like, I think he's unintentionally funny. I'm not sure if he understands how, like, you see, like, TikToks of him and he's just, like, being his goofy self. People gravitate toward him. And that's kind of, that needs to be an aspect of a captain on a hockey team. It's just to have that silly, goofy personality. Marchand had that. And maybe Bergeron didn't have it in front of everyone, but there's a wild side to Bergeron that people love and that people kind of see through Marchand's Instagram and his videos behind the scenes. But I think that Pastrnak has or will be the next captain. When, I don't know, but I think he's next in line for the C.
Do you think he wants to be the captain?
I think so. I don't think I don't want to say I don't think he cares, but I don't think it's top of mind for him. I think he just wants to play hockey. And he said last year that, he's like, I have the A. Nothing's going to change whether I have the A or the C. So, I mean, I think he'd welcome it with open arms. And I think deep down, when you are a veteran on any team, I think that there's maybe a little bit of a desire to be more of a leader for most people. But I think he does want it. I think he'd thrive in that role. Like I said, I think people gravitate toward him, and I think he can really kind of capture the room and hold players accountable.
Pastrnak more as a captain than, say, a Charlie McAvoy.
Yeah, I think so. And I like McAvoy as a leader. I think he's more of the quiet leader, kind of like a Bergeron when he wasn't the huge vocal leader. I think he led in very different ways. But I think that McAvoy is a leader in his own right. And he has an A for a reason. And same thing with Pastrnak. I think people really respect McAvoy, and he knows how to lead by example. He'd be a fine choice too. But I just think when you look at both those players, I think Pastrnak should have the C. Not like, it's not a competition. They both bring great things to the Bruins, but I think McAvoy stays with the A, and I think that's where he will kind of thrive in that role, kind of being like the secondary leader.
Was there any, from you covering the team, were there any leadership issues last year around the team? Because it just felt like last year was a mess for the team.
I don't necessarily think it was leadership. I almost think it was a lack of having a veteran voice, like a Nick Foligno or the Pat Maroon when they tried to bring in Pat Maroon 2 years ago, and he was injured, and then the playoffs ended very prematurely. But I think they were missing, and they've been missing, kind of that exterior or the interior veteran voice that just kind of rallies the team, is not afraid to hold people accountable, hold themselves accountable, speak to the media, no matter what is going on. I mean, Pat Maroon, coming off a playoff loss, we were just like, what do you have to do better? And he's like, we got to score a expletive goal. And they've just been missing that, just kind of like almost like the glue. They're kind of just the reinforced glue that they've been missing. And I think that's kind of shown the last couple of years.
Because there was something, and I'm bad at crediting people. My default setting is to credit Ty Anderson with everything, because he's so good at covering the team. I don't know if he reported something about Zadorov and Lindholm having some sort of like leadership squabbles against Marchand or something like that, where this new group of Bruins players came in here and they tried to kind of take over the room, and that kind of led to a lot of different things. And the coach had his issues, and he was trying to get fired because he had 5 years from the Blues, but it was so disorganized. So I do want to ask you about the lines for the Bruins, because this is one of the fun things about, if you're doing baseball, you always want to make out the lineup card. If you're talking hockey, I always like doing the line combinations. So as we're talking today, Lauren, what are your Bruins top 6? Like, is it Geekie, Lindholm, Pasternak? What are your Bruins top 6 right now?
So it's Pasternak, Lindholm, and Geekie. And then when you say right now, does this mean potential free agents that they could bring in?
So you can add them.
Okay. Because that's what I did. So line 2 is Husnudinov, Zacha, and Brock Besser.
Okay.
So that's my top 6 right there.
We have stuff on that, coming up. Ty Anderson on and Matt Doloff on the Sports Hub Underground talk about Besser and how he's got a friendship with Middlestad. Yes. So that would make sense that he comes here. They're a combo. Ty talks about that. I think Elliot Friedman also had some reporting on that. So is that a good enough kind of top 6 to compete more than just a playoff spot going forward this year?
Yeah, I think, Husnudinov, maybe that's putting a lot of pressure on him. He's only 22, putting him top 6 role. We didn't see a whole lot from him last year, but there were some flashes that I really liked. I think he passed the eye test for the most part, and I think playing with someone like Zacha, and then you add in Besser, I think that's a solid veteran leadership with a younger guy on the line. And I feel like, Zacha had just really good chemistry with Pasternak, but maybe he can develop that with someone younger, maybe who's going to play. Hopefully, maybe the Bruins envision him in a bigger role going forward. But I think if it's a straight yes or no answer, then yes, I do think it's a good enough top 6.
All right. Lauren Campbell is here from Mass Live. She's talking Bruins. If the Red Sox have a meltdown, we'll do something live with that. If you want to join us, 617-779-0985. We can take your calls. I know Lauren has some opinions about Morgan Geekie. We've got some other Bruins. I've got other Bruins questions for her about the Bruins draft pick. Why did the number 1 pick last year fall to 7? So I'll ask her some of those. And if you want to join us, 617-779-0985. More with Lauren Campbell and me, James Stewart, coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up.
These two, Pastrnak and Geekie, they've got it going with. I mean, it's the one-timer from the left wing circle. How many goals that they have scored from that exact same spot? Either one of them.
So I don't know that number, Bob Beers. That's Ryan Johnson, Bob Beers, the call. Right here on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Love that jingle. I don't know how many they scored from that point of view, but I do know, because Ty Anderson tweeted it, that David Pastrnak assisted on 21 of Morgan Geekie's 33 goals. And Geekie assisted on 16 of Pasternak's goals. Meaning 37 of Geekie's 57 points featured David Pasternak's involvement. That is 64.9%. Did you know that, Lauren Campbell?
I only know that because I saw Ty's tweet earlier.
There you go. You have a take on Morgan Geekie that I'm interested in hearing. So go ahead. The forum is yours. Rant away.
It's a good deal. Fight me. Like, people are complaining about that.
So the contract, for those who don't know, is 6 years at $5.5 million per season for Morgan Geekie.
And he's only 26. He's coming off a career year. Now, is he going to duplicate those numbers next year? That remains to be seen. But how I see it as 30 goal scorers don't come around too often, and they don't come cheap. If he continues to produce, even if he does 25 goals, this contract could end up being a complete steal for the Bruins. It's good for the Bruins. It's good for Geekie. And if you think about it, he was scratched. He was healthy scratched in November? And then all of a sudden he turned it on. He all of a sudden found his groove. He found the chemistry with Pasta, and it was just like he was a whole new player. If he continued that momentum from opening night, he could have scored close to 40 goals, if not 40 itself. And, going back to Ty's tweet, I think this is more just you need to keep Pasta and Geekie together going forward. On that top line, the second line, wherever you want to put them, you just need to keep them together because they found something special. And I see a lot of people complaining about, oh, it was too much for Geekie. Well, the cap's going up. There's going to be a lot of that, like, oh, did they overpay for this player or that player? For the next couple of years, the cap's going to keep going up. But I just think it's a steal, especially if Geekie can continue to produce. And sometimes, when he was in Seattle, sometimes you just need that fresh start. And he found that with the Bruins. And now he's going to take on a little bit more of a leadership role. Hopefully he's still going to play with Pasta. And you get that first line together of Geekie, Pastrnak, and Lindholm. They found something really special toward the end of last year. And then Lindholm and Pasta in the Worlds, Lindholm especially in the Worlds, was incredible throughout the tournament. So he carries that into next season. Pasta continues to be the dominant player that he is. Geekie carries that momentum from last year into this coming season. This deal could age very, very well. Now that I said that, it's probably going to be like the worst deal the Bruins have ever made. I see people,
no, they've had some bad ones.
They have, and I do have flashbacks of those. But people are calling it, like Bolesky 2.0, Charlie Coyle 2.0. But
David Backes
2.0. Oh, that's a shame. But
that was a wild day, the day of the Backes deal, because initially it was a 1 year, $6 million. We're like, oh my goodness, this is a great deal. And then it's like, no, it's 6 for like 6, and it's not a great deal. And then you're attaching draft picks to it. So in your world, Lauren, Geekie, Lindholm, and Pastrnak. Lindholm, I assume, will be healthy this year?
That's what I hope so. I mean, he said that he had a back injury that I was trying to play catch up with, and he just came to Boston last year. I think his wife had a baby shortly after training camp. There was a lot of changes for him between moving, new baby, the injury, trying to rehab from that. And then you saw it toward the end of the season, I think closer to the player that he is and the Bruins envision him to be. And then in the Worlds, I mean, a completely different player. So I think if you take the small sample size from when he started to play really well at the end of last year, this past season, and you couple that with the Worlds, I think that's what you're going to get from him. And that's what Bruins fans want. You committed a lot of time, a lot of term, and a lot of money for this guy.
So Kevin Paul DuPont on Twitter, or Blue Sky, or both, says that the Bruins have approximately $12.7 million in shopping money for unrestricted free agency. Sweeney typically likes to keep $2 million plus or minus in hand, can exceed 12.7 to above 20, and then trim back by opening night. What is the Lauren Campbell plan potentially for Bruins free agency, and does that match what you think the Bruins will actually do?
For the most part, I really like Brock Besser. We mentioned him in the first segment, and he's projected to make about $8 or $9 million, which I mean the Bruins can do. They have the 12-7, 12-8 in cap space. Besser had 25 goals and 25 assists last season, and he's only 2 seasons. What year are we in? So 23-24, he had a 40-goal season. That's not far removed. He's still young. You could probably get him for, like I said, $8 or $9 million, which I think is doable, especially in this cap era of it going up. There's also Jason Robertson from the Stars, who's a very interesting case. They would have to trade for him, I believe. His cap hit's a little smaller, $7.5 million, but the Bruins have draft capital, young assets that probably could get that deal done.
Would you flip Zacha for him?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. I really, maybe that's a hot take. I'm not really sure, but I really like what Zacha has brought to this team and the chemistry that he has with Pastrnak when they play together. And he's just another veteran that I think is good for the younger players, especially as this Bruins team is going into kind of a fresh start, a new era, so to say. What's it, powered by toughness, or their new slogan? Can't remember off the top of my head. And then there's Nick Ehlers, who's also a very interesting option. He's also projected around like $8-9 million. I think the highest I saw was like $9.3 million for him. 24 goals, 39 assists last year. So I think any 3 of those would be a good fit for Boston. I would like them to see them go after Brock Besser. I've been writing about the Bruins, why he'd be a good fit for the Bruins since my Nesson days. So it's been years since I've been writing this story.
This is your Anders Bjork take.
Yes. And this is my redemption arc. Like a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? Like twice, or a dead clock is wrong twice a day. Like this has to be. Give me something here. Like this has to be it.
I'm rooting for the Bruins to make big moves and spend big. So would you package some of the Bruins younger players for Jason Robertson?
Like Lysell, Merkelov, those guys.
Because I mean, I've got different Bruins line combinations, and it just feels like that there's a lot of younger players that just may not fit. They may not be actual NHLers. And if you can throw them to somebody like the Sagan trade, right? Like you got a bunch of crap for Tyler Sagan.
You did.
From the Stars.
You did.
So maybe you can get the karmic value and send a bunch of crap there and get a really good player. Yeah,
I mean, I think that when you look at Fabian Lysell, it's getting to the point now, where do the Bruins see his fit? He's been in the system now. He did get some looks last year, but I don't think he's gotten enough of an extended look to really prove if he can hang with the NHL team or not. And at some point, like, you can't just keep burying him in Providence. And same with Merkelov. I think that someone like him, they just signed him to an extension today, but I think that you really need to figure out where they fit in your system. And maybe that's going to be part of Marco Sturm's job early on here. Like, hey, if we're not going to play these guys, if we don't think they have a decent shot to make the team out of camp, then we need to trade them away so we can get an NHL ready player, because our fans deserve better than what we gave them last year.
So it feels like Marco Sturm is going to, for lack of a better way of putting it, play the Claude Julien, pack it in, win 0-0, or at least attempt to. I didn't know this. I was talking to Kevin Majori, who produces with me in Felger and Maz. The Bruins only had one shootout last year, which I was blown away by. And I guess they were one of like 4 teams that only had one shootout the entire regular season, which again blew my mind. Are those young players a fit for the pack-it-in style that I think Marco Sturm is going to play?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We don't really know, I guess, right? And I feel like Lysell is a really peculiar case, because at the Providence level, we're like, why is he still down there? What more does he have to do? And then he comes up to the NHL level, and we're like, okay, is he letting his emotions get the best of him? Is it mental? Is it the coach? Like, does he need somebody like Marco Sturm, who's kind of, a no-nonsense baddie, and it's just like, this is how we're going to do it. So maybe they will fit better, and that's, for Sweeney and Sturm to decide at the end of the day. But it's those two especially. And, even Matt Patra, he spent most, if not the entire year in Providence after making it really hard for the team to not put him on the roster. So you look at these young guys and you really have to decide if they're part of the future of this team. Can they help you not only get to the playoffs, but get back to the cup final? Can they help you win a cup? And if you even hesitate to say yes, then you need to get them out.
So Lauren Campbell is putting the roster together. Who of these young players would you keep on the NHL team, and which would you deal away?
Well, this is funny because my third line that I have here is Merkulov, Patra, and Lysell. So
that's the kids line.
That's the kids line. As I said, if they don't see them having a legitimate role, they should leave. They should package them and trade them. But I do think that they can be a decent fit here, especially Patra. We've seen what he can do. It's just a matter of being more confident with the puck. I know he's put on a little more weight as well, which was a big issue for him. It's happened with a shoulder injury. He gave the hit, but he took the brunt of it. And I really do think there is something there with Lysell. I've watched him. I've seen him in Providence. I've seen him at the Bruins level, and I think it's a matter of just like a little bit of maturity will go a long way with him, and that could then all of a sudden that carries over into someone like Merkulov, someone like Patra, where they can all like kind of form this really good chemistry third line. That can't on paper right here. That's a solid third line, but they need to prove it. And I feel like there's more time for Patra, but not as much time for Lysell and Merkulov.
All right, 617-779-0985. Skaz, I'm going to take a phone call before I give you an update. Let's go to TJ in Jamaica Plain. TJ, you're on with James Stewart and Lauren Campbell here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. TJ, what's going on? Thanks for hanging on.
Well, first of all, Lauren, I'm sure you're a very intelligent woman with right opinions, but I really wanted to give. Do you prefer Jim, Jimmy, or James?
It's all good in the hood. It's all good. It's a wonderful life.
Jim. I just wanted to give Jim Stewart flowers. Turning on 98.5 and hearing you as part of the talent is really nice. I listen to the afternoon show a lot.
The term talent is a loosely used term tonight. But
well,
thank you.
I think both of you are doing it, and you're always a breath of fresh air, chiming in whether invited or interrupting with just correct opinions.
Well, I appreciate
but
that.
Since you guys are talking about hockey, I guess if you haven't already gone over it, $9 million plus for Brad Marchand, that can't be right. Correct?
Oh, no, well, it's 6 years and it's $32 million.
Oh, well, is it worth it?
It's more the 6 years that I think offends most people, but he'll be an Arizona Coyote, and I know they don't exist anymore, but he'll be dumped as a cap casualty somewhere else.
He'll go to Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be an Atlanta Thrasher at some point in his career, because that's where it'll end. TJ, if you have a hotter take about something else on the board, I'm all ears for it.
Oh, I just R.I.P. Luke Cornett. Love the guy. I'm glad he's getting $10 million a year in San Antonio now. But what are the Celtics going to do for a center?
Well, they signed a Brad Stevens. And TJ, thank you for the call and appreciate the good words. They signed a center who apparently is a Brad Stevens guy in Luka Garza. He was with the Wolves. I guess Brad has loved him coming out of college. So that right now, Luka Garza is your starting center for the Boston Celtics. Up until, 90 minutes ago, I had no idea what a Luka Garza was. So that's kind of how it is. Because I just didn't have my eyes on Luka Garza. 617-779-0985. The Red Sox game I'll give you an update on here in a second. I've got a few more questions about the Bruins, and we'll get some Red Sox items as we talk to Lauren Campbell of Mass Lives. But we want to hear from you if you're out there, and hopefully you are. 617-779-0985. Here's James Stewart with the update.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Luke Cornett is no longer a member of the Boston Celtics. He has agreed to a 4-year, $41
We have a special guest, an award-winning comedian, actor, golfer, and lifelong Bruins fan.
My name is Happy Gilmore. How are you? Proud to be part of the 2025 NHL Draft. The Boston Bruins select from Boston College, James Hagens. Way to go, homie!
James Hagens, elite playmaker, makes his line mates better. Boston College, he'll like to go back there for year 2 this year. He falls to the Bruins at 7, Megan.
It's poetic. I mean, Hagen doesn't have to go far to go from college to an NHL team. And that playmaking elite vision is just too good to pass up at this point, I think, for Boston, even if you want to go with someone with a bit more bite. He is that pass-first player, so had a bit of an underwhelming year, which is maybe why he's fallen to the Boston Bruins. But I think you're delighted if you're them, because he's 4th among forwards, passes completed to the slot at just over 15 per game. And his favorite movie is, in fact, Happy Gilmore. He's got that back, Freddie Mag. How about you have that?
I think we got to wait a year until that goal horn hits for James Hagen, the number 7 pick for the Boston Bruins in the NHL entry draft. Boston College guy, in case you didn't know that. I don't know. I think the Bruins have, 6 players, I think, playing at BC this year,
yeah.
Lauren?
Yep.
Lauren Campbell talking hockey, and some Red Sox as we kind of wind down here on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Was that a knuckleball I just saw thrown in there?
I missed it.
Don't worry about it. Red Sox leading 13-5. Willie Abreu, grand slam. But James Hagen, Lauren, why was he projected as the number 1 pick before the season? Why was he there at number 7 as the Bruins were picking?
So I think there's a couple things that made him fall, and I think, and I say this as somebody who stands at a very tall 5'2", that they saw him that he was too short. I think he's 5'10" or 5'11", which again, that's very tall to me. But I think when you look at somebody, there's, centers out there who are 6 feet, 6'2", 6'5", and his numbers were not as impressive. And I'm using air quotes as other forwards who were picked in front of him. But I feel like that's an unfair reason, because I feel like he had tougher competition at his age and at his level. So I think that they kind of looked at him and were like, oh, we can do better. And I saw a lot of people who follow prospects and a lot of NHL folks say that it was just, it's incredible. I cannot believe that James Hagens fell to the Bruins at 7. And measurables are funny because you see that a lot in the NFL, wingspan, hands, and I feel like you don't see it too much in hockey. So when you call someone short, you think maybe like Torrey Krug, Matt Grzelcyk, maybe even Brad Marchand. It's like, oh, this guy's 5'11" and he's too short. Well, now he's coming into the NHL in a few years with a huge chip on his shoulder, and I think that he's always going to think, at one point I was a projected number 1 pick, and he's too short. He doesn't have the speed, or his points aren't as impressive as other people in college hockey. But it's like you're playing in a tougher division in Hockey East or the NCAA, and you're doing it as a young freshman. So I think that maybe the people in charge of the drafts here kind of overshot or maybe like mismeasured Hagens, but I was shocked he was still there. I was convinced that I didn't think he was going to go 1 or 2, but I did not think he'd be there for the Bruins.
I think the Tankathon had him going at 5. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 5, but so I heard the comparison of Jack Hughes, who was the former number 1 pick in 2019 of the New Jersey Devils. I heard Felger ranting and raving about
his
Jack
favorite
Hughes
player.
is unacceptable if this guy is Jack Hughes. But I would ask, because I heard the draft analysis of he's a pass-first center. So if he's the number 7 pick and he's David Krejci, who was a former second-round pick, are we okay with that?
I think so. And I say this as somebody who was a huge fan of David Krejci his entire career. But I think that you need somebody like David Krejci because he just knew where to put the puck. It didn't matter. You just got in front of the net. You got to the point. It did not matter. David Krejci was going to find you. And it was almost like, I don't know if we'll ever see chemistry like Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand again, but when you have the confidence in your center to get you the puck, and then you have the confidence to put it on net, that's going to help the Bruins because they need, I know that they're very pass happy lately, but if you have somebody who's got that confidence and then you have a shooter like Pasta or somebody coming up, maybe like a Fraser Minton, it could do wonders for this team.
And I think Pasta's a sneaky good passer.
He is.
I think that doesn't get talked about enough, is that he's a sneaky good passer. And that's the assist numbers. We went through the geeky stuff before about the assist of Pasternak on Geeky's goals and vice versa. Fraser Minton is a player that I know Kevin Majori loves. If you don't know who Fraser Minton is, he's a left shot center. And Kevin Majori, his big projection board, says that he's probably a middle 6 forward. Lauren Campbell, do you agree? What do you think of Fraser Minton?
Yeah, I think middle 6 forward is a good projection for him. He's only 20, maybe 21. I'm not sure if he turned 21 yet, but you had Craig Berube call this guy a veteran on the bench already. And I think that counts for something when you have somebody who already has that kind of maturity and that mentality when you're just 20 years old trying to make a name for yourself. So I really like him. I think he was the Maple Leafs top prospect or one of their top prospects. And he is somebody who I think can really help this franchise. And no, he's not going to fix the franchise overnight, but when you get players like him, I think that it's a great return. He came over in the Carlo trade, I think, and he's got time to develop, and he might make a legitimate run at the roster out of training camp. So I'm really interested to see how he handles, being in the Bruins organization and how he takes to their system, because I think there's so much potential there that he could really be a force for this team.
And if you're talking about, he was in the Carlo deal, by the way. If you're talking about Marco Sturm and he's going to play like Claude, he's a two-way center.
He's perfect.
That fits.
He's perfect.
That fits because the strength of Claude Julien was down the middle. You had consistency. You had Bergeron. You had Krejci. You had Campbell, ironically enough. Ironic. So this is a quick side. I didn't know whether you were Lauren Campbell writing or Lauren Willen, so my default setting is Lauren Campbell. That's
who she is. That's who she is. Who is Lauren Willen? We don't know.
We don't know. It's a mystery to everybody. Do you have any Red Sox takes? Do you have any Red Sox takes that are in the holster? Right now, they are leading 13-5, 12-5, 13-5. They are in the top of the ninth inning. They're going to close this one out against the Fighting Franconas and Cincinnati Reds. Any Red Sox takes that are grinding your gears?
I really think with the trade deadline coming up in about, 3 weeks now? Yeah. I really think that their focus should be on pitching. And I know Craig Breslow has said that. And I just think that Walker Buehler, I think he's shown kind of who he is through the first third of the season here. And I also think that Brian Bayo is improving, but I still think he needs somebody more efficient or more consistent in front of him. I think his ceiling is a high 3 or a very low 2. And I think I mean, it's not his fault that people see him and they're like, hey, he's the next Pedro. We're going to compare him to Pedro.
Well, that was Pedro who compared him to Pedro.
But that's not Bayo's fault where he has all these lofty expectations on him. But I think he's starting to come into his own. I'd really like to see them focus on pitching, who I don't really know. But you do have people like Jarren Duran who they could trade. I wouldn't trade Willie or Abreu, but Duran, you have a crowded infield and you have a very crowded outfield. I mean, you have Yoshida making appearances at Fenway, starting a rehab assignment.
He was the big promotional guy at Worcester tonight.
He was, yes. So, I think that, and my thing with Duran is that his game is built solely on speed. He's fast. He's not going to be fast forever. And who's trapped?
Luke, our intern. I tried to do that slickly with the talkback button, but maybe the talkback button didn't work. And it just went on the air instead, which is fine, whatever.
It's radio for you, baby.
Yeah, it's live. It's the thing that makes me the most nervous is that I have a live microphone and my speaking skills are limited at best. But here's what I want from the Red Sox down the stretch. I want them to get good players.
Yeah.
I opened the show by yelling and screaming about how the Red Sox, they need to get good players. They should not be trading Rafael Devers away because he makes too much money. They should be bringing in good players. I think Maz had the numbers that Tommy, our intern, looked up about the scrub beanie 1-year pitchers that the Red Sox have signed, and in 6 years they totaled $200 million. You know what that pays for, Lauren? That pays for a really good player like Max Fried, who I think Breslow wanted and ownership wouldn't pay for him. So he had to go out and trade chips for Garrett Crochet. And we're happy with Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
And he signed the extension. But if this rotation had Crochet and Fried, maybe they have 50 wins by now. Maybe they're the first team to 50 wins. I don't know, but it frustrates me that, again, I'm talking more about the business of actual baseball than constructing the best rosters possible. And it's because of these stupid taxes, these stupid salary caps. And if all the teams and their owners would actually do the right thing and want to win championships instead of wanting to win on the business ledger, it would be a different story. But that's just it's a personal frustration of mine that business of sports, like in the J. Stu world, I'd take all the leagues and 24 teams max. Get rid of teams, have an open lottery, all those players on extra teams that Jay Stu doesn't want in his commissioner of sports theory, they get dropped into other teams by luck of the draw. But the Red Sox, they need to do something. They need stars, and they need good two-way ball players because you're bringing up Marcelo Mayer, you're bringing up Roman Anthony, you're bringing up Tristan Campbell, and they're not ready to be big leaguers. They're not complete players. And Craig Breslow, to blame the previous regime for all of the failures, it's been 6 freaking years now of just failure after failure after failure. And the fact that Roman Anthony is the top prospect in baseball and he can't field in the outfield, or Marcelo Mayer, who seems smooth all the way around, is a platoon player when he was hitting lefties well. Oh, lefty stats in the minors, they don't mean anything. It's frustrating for me, Lauren, that they're wasting money on Sandoval and Yoshida and Liam Hendricks and all these players who they're trying to win on a lottery ticket, and it frustrates me. Go out and get good players.
I don't think you're asking for much, and
apparently I am.
Well,
this is what do the kids call it? Breadcrumbing?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that one. I got to keep up. Oh my God, breadcrumbing. I'm gonna have to look that up. But it's something, Derek said this to me, my husband, and he said that the worst thing that happened to the Red Sox is 2021 when they made the postseason, because now it's like, oh well, we made the postseason not that long ago. Well, you last won a World Series in 2018, 7 years ago. And no, maybe you shouldn't have made the postseason in 2021, but you did. And just like the atmosphere at Fenway, the excitement of being a fan, the excitement of covering that kind of team, like that's what people want. They don't care about the Fenway experience, because the Fenway experience to fans is watching good baseball, not going to get a $15 beer and a $9 hot dog, which I will pay the $9 for the hot dog every single time. But I'm not like, you need to put a good product on the field and not just be like, well, we tried. And on paper, this Red Sox team should be much better than they are. But the fact is that they're not. and they need to figure it out at the trade deadline. If you want to be buyers, be buyers. Pick a direction. None of this like, oh, we're going to trade Devers and then be like, oh, we're going to make these like middle moves and be like, yay, hope for the best. No, pick a direction. Either buy or sell. If you sell, make it known to the fans. Be transparent. Be like, we are all in for next year. They won't believe you because the whole full throttle thing and all that. But it's time for the Red Sox to just pick a direction and get back to being what makes them so fun to watch and so fun for the fans to be there.
And what's frustrating, Lauren, is that, and it's not talked about enough. It seems like it's just talked about on the station, is the Giants owner said that they got Devers when they did because they were willing to take the whole contract. You're making a player transaction based on money, not on actual quality. And when the owner of the Giants is on the record and saying that Breslow was asking for too much in a return for Rafael Devers, it's a problem. It needs to be talked about more. Is that John Henry didn't want the Devers contract, and they used personal issues. It's such a great point that Maz brought up. Is for most transactions for the Boston Red Sox, it's about the paper. The Devers one is being spoken about like it's emotional, and there's the hypocrisy of all of it. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating to me as a fan. Yeah. Lauren, thank you so much. We can catch your work at Mass Live. Thank you for coming in and helping out for an hour.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. And the Red Sox did not win as we're signing off here.
Oh, I know.